The Jonesboro Regional Chamber of Commerce presents Compass, the direction you need now. It is our pleasure to provide this service with our partner, the Delta Center for Economic Development, located on Arkansas State University's campus. This installment will be focused on the payroll protection plan offered by the Small Business Administration, or SBA. Our local experts are Jerry Morgan from First National Bank and Jeff Breckline from Farmers and Merchants Bank.
A frequently asked question, probably the most frequently asked question I've received is, I'm self-employed, do I qualify, can I apply? The answer to that is yes, you can. There are provisions in the Relief Act to cover self-employed folks. It's important to remember, though, that the earliest to apply would be tomorrow, April the 10th.
Another question is, what percentage of the PPP loan can be forgiven? That's one that we've gotten a lot. The answer to that is technically the full amount can be forgiven. Once you apply, you have 8 weeks to spend those funds, and then you will come back and apply for forgiveness of that loan. The key is you've got to make sure that the use of the funds is used specifically for the specific uses that are outlined in the SBA program to get those forgiven. If that is not forgiven, then you have to come back later and start making payments on that loan. So it's very important to read the guidelines to make sure you know what those funds are specifically used for.
Another important piece to remember, and I have been asked about this by a few different applicants, is when the loan is forgiven, will I be required to pay taxes on that amount? And it is our understanding that no, you will not be taxed on the amount of the forgiven debt. There's a provision in the Act that covers that, and so I do not believe there will be any tax.
Another question is what is the interest rate on the PPP loan? The answer to that, the rate is 1% per year. That starts from the time you sign the note, but you do not have to make a payment on that for the first 6 months. So if you come back in later and file a claim for it to be forgiven, there's a chance that you will not end up having to pay any money at all on that loan. But again, those items have to be categorized specifically with the SBA guidelines to get those forgiven. If not, you will have to come back in and start paying on that loan over an 18-month period at 1%.
Another question that has been posed quite often is, when I'm ready to apply for one of the loans, can I just go to the SBA website and apply, or do I need to go to my bank? Specifically on the PPP product that has just been rolled out, you are directed to go to your community bank. So, I would recommend that you go to the SBA website to get the information. It also lists the required documents along with the application. Then at that point, I would go and visit my community bank.
Question is, how long does it take to get the money on this loan? This process started, today is the 9th. Process started last Friday with the application process. It did take the banks, all the banks nationwide, a couple of days to figure out the process, figure out the application period, figure out the qualification calculations. And a lot of banks right now are still working through those. Several have started entering the SBA website and getting approvals. And the next phase is funding. I've heard of some banks that have started funding already. We think that'll ramp up over the next couple of days. And by next week, you'll see most banks putting money out the door. So that's a huge benefit to our local businesses.
A question that has been posed quite often is, well, there are several different products, or several different loan products that the SBA offers, and it includes also this PPP program. They've said, hey, well, if I apply for the PPP, can I also go back later and apply for another loan, another SBA loan? And the answer to that is yes. You can apply and receive the money for PPP. There are certain provisions in the other loans, however, if you have received the PPP, it will be a little bit different. The funding amounts will be a little different. But at the end of to answer the question, yes, you can have two.
A lot of people have asked, where can I get information on this program? The very first thing that I would advise any customer to do is first go to the SBA.gov website and go under the PPP program and read all the information there. Then the next step would be to visit with your local bankers. We're very, very fortunate here in Jonesboro to have a large group of local bankers. We've all worked together on this project to make sure we're all interpreting the rules properly and talking to each one of them. I think all of them are now in the phase of taking applications and submitting to the SBA. And so that would be the step now, is probably research it and then call your local banker.
A lot of folks have inquired into the bank, hey, is this money limited? Is it first come, first serve basis? I'm afraid there's a lot of misinformation, floating about. And as we speak here today, we do understand that there will be an additional $250 billion added to this pot, which I believe was, to begin with, was $349 billion. So I guess it could run out. I don't think they intend for the money to run out. We have not been issued any guidance about prioritizing applications. We have processed applications as they have been received, but there is not a master list, to my knowledge, listing everybody with a number. So I would suggest that you do go ahead and do your research and get an application in. But I don't think there's any reason to panic about funding running out anytime soon, if at all.
Another resource is the local SBDC office on the ASU campus. My understanding, the last Compass Zoom meeting featured Laura Miller and Robert Bond, and they did a really good job. So I would also ask people to go back and watch that video also. They discussed some other options for possible relief for our local businesses that businesses could possibly use there. The SBA has been really, really good to work with in our area and statewide with the rollout of this project. There's never been anything like this in the history of banking, where a project of $349 million has been rolled out in a matter of 2 weeks. So everybody's really working together. All the banks are working together. All the local banks have really worked hard on this. And so once this gets done and through, we're going to be really proud of the progress that we've made.
If you would like to contact the Jonesboro Regional Chamber of Commerce or have questions you would like answered on future installments of Compass, the direction you need now, you can email them at askchamber@jonesborochamber.com. And if you would like to get in touch with the Delta Center for Economic Development, you can call 870-972-3000 or email them at dced@astate.edu.